Hello, everyone. I was terrified. Tears were streaming down my face. Why didn't anybody tell me that being a mom was going to be this hard? Picture this, March 2020. The entire world shut down. We were in the start of the global pandemic. At that time, I was a new mom. I had two little ones, a 3-month-old daughter named Violet, and my son, Lennox, who was about 2 years old at the time. So I was a new mom, right? And I was incredibly stressed. On top of that, I had just finished my maternity leave in March 2020, and I was actually supposed to go back into an office. Fortunately, my boss worked something out so I could work from home. At the time, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be great. I get to work from home, be super mom, do all of the super mom things. Wrong. We all know, everybody that's watching this, you all know how that played out. It was like somebody punched me in the face, to say the least, those first few months of the pandemic. About 6 months into the pandemic, we were, still working from home, and my husband and I, both of us were working from home, and we had a plan, if you will. While he was working upstairs, I was downstairs caring for the kids. And then when he was downstairs caring for the kids, I was working from home. So there was never any time for us to decompress and just kind of process everything that was going on. And one of those days in June, because I said about 6 months in, June 2020, I had a mental breakdown. And I remember this day like it was yesterday. I was downstairs caring for the kids, like I told you all, downstairs. My husband's upstairs. And my daughter, Violet, she's now about 6 months old, had colic, and she was gassy, right? And she was just crying non-stop that day. At least that's how it felt like to me. And at that time, her crying was very triggering for me. And as I reflect, I realized that the crying at that time, and shout out to therapy and coaching, I now realize her crying made me feel like I wasn't a good mom, like I wasn't doing enough for her. So in that month, June 2020, her crying, I didn't have those words, okay? But something snapped. And there was two thoughts that I had that scared the shit out of me. And it was almost like I had an out of body experience because I had never thought these kind of things before. And there was just so much going on in the world, as we all know, in 2020. And the first thought that I had was, you know what? I should just end my life. This is too much. My kids, they're young. They won't remember me. So what's the point? I really should just end it. But the second thought that I had terrified me. And I remember, like, I felt like you see one Lesline in front of you. I felt like there was two Lesline. So I'm here, right? And then the other Lesline jumps out and looks at this Lesline that has this next thought that I'm about to share with you. And that thought is to harm my baby girl, Violet. And as I jump out of my body after having that thought, this is the judgy Lesline, if you will, okay? Looks at the Lesline that has this thought and is like, you can't think like that. You're a mom now. You're a nurse. You want to get committed? You cannot tell anybody that you just thought those things. So as judgy Lesline is saying all of that stuff, I am like, okay. And Violet is still crying, everyone, still crying. And I had done everything. I like to say that too. I had done everything. I gave her the gas drops. I moved her little legs, patted her on the chest, everything. And so after I had that second thought of wanting to harm my own child, I immediately run upstairs and I tell my husband, I say, hey, um, I need to go take a breather. I'm going to go take a walk. I did not disclose to my husband at that time that I was having these thoughts because I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed because I'm a mom now. I'm supposed to have it all together. I'm a nurse. Like I shouldn't be thinking this way. And on top of that, to be really frank with you all, I didn't want to hear it from him. I didn't want to hear the judgment from him. Like I already shared, Judgy Lesline was already giving me it all. I did not need to hear it from anybody else. So I took a walk, and we live off of a nature trail, fortunately. And I went and took that walk on our nature trail, and I intuitively came back to my yoga practice through way of breath. So as I was walking on that trail, I just remember God just saying, breathe, Lesline, breathe, breathe. So I did. I started to breathe. I just kept doing that as I was walking, thoughts going a million miles an hour. How can you think like this? You're not a good mom. Who are you? You can't tell anybody that you just thought these things. But deep, deep down, I knew I needed help. I knew I needed help, but I really didn't know who I could talk to. So as I'm thinking all these thoughts and I'm breathing, I'm coming back to the breath. I'm coming back to the breath. I come back inside after I'm a little more centered, and I immediately find a therapist. And fortunately, I was able to see that therapist like within a week or so. And I also like to put in the story, I did not harm myself, nor did I harm my daughter. But these thoughts, everyone, they felt very real, and I was scared of myself. I was terrified. Like I said, tears were streaming down my face because I did not have the words. I did not have the words of you are processing this and the trauma. I didn't have all of those fancy words. I just felt very overwhelmed. So after I found my therapist, a few months later, I invested in a life coach and I transformed my own life. And now I'm here in front of you sharing breath or breathe, my bad, breathe, which is the 7 simple steps for busy moms to find peace and balance. And these steps really, they helped me and they transformed my life. And I'm going to be sharing those with you. So we're spelling out breathe. B is to be gentle with yourself. Like really, 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 everyone, be gentle with yourself, especially if you are a new mom. I remember going back 2020, y'all, like 2019, 2020, it was very rough for me. And I remember, I think my daughter wasn't even 6 months. Okay, so this was like before the pandemic. And I had a C-section actually with both of my children. So, you're supposed to be like not doing anything, not lifting anything heavy for at least 6 weeks. And I remember going back to me telling you all I didn't feel good enough, right? I remember that one of the days, another day beside that day I shared with you all in June 2020, but there was another day where I was sitting and I was just minding my own business, and something was like, you should clean behind the stove. Mind you, I was like 4 weeks postpartum with my daughter. And I started to do that. I got up and started to do that, clean behind the stove. So that is an example of not being gentle with yourself. So I say all that to say, be gentle with yourself. Know that you are good enough as is. There is nothing that you need to do. There is no certification, no degree. Like you as is, like when you came into this world, you are good enough. So take that and really just be gentle with yourself. And then rest. rest. This is me talking to me. Like I shared with you that cleaning behind the stove story. Like I was pulling the stove out. Like what was I doing? But I'm learning how to be gentle with myself and having compassion with myself because I didn't know what I know now, right? So rest in the knowing that you are completely whole just the way you are. And also rest in the knowing that everything, and I mean everything, is always working out for you. E, ease into your breath. If you are new, this is the top of the year, we're all trying to get right, get healthy, whatever that means to you. And if you are like, you know what, I want to start doing yoga, meditation, I encourage you to ease into that. And one way you can ease into that is by starting with breath work. Breath work is an aspect of yoga. I also am a certified yoga teacher, so I'll be sharing like how we can work together if you think we fit well. But ease into it. Because I know with this being the top of the year, a lot of us are like, okay, I got to do this, and this. But it's very important that you ease into this, especially that we're in the winter season. A lot of this is about just like, hibernating. So as you're coming out from this winter season, you really want to, again, going back to be gentle with yourself and then easing into whatever type of self-care practice that you need so you can be your best self. And then A is allow. Allow. So like I shared with you my story earlier, Judgy Lesline, I kind of talked a lot of ish about Judgy Lesline, but I'm actually proud of myself in that moment because I allowed Judgy Lesline, if you will, to speak to me. I just let her tell me everything. I didn't like push it away. And that's something that's really important when it comes to personal development, self-work, like doing the healing that we all are doing here, is to allow the feelings to come up, but make sure, especially as women, especially if you are a Black or brown woman, make sure that you are in a safe space. That's very, very important, that you're in a safe space, because you'll realize, and I know this for me, when I first started my yoga practice, like it was 2009, there wasn't a lot of people that looked like me in these yoga spaces. So I wasn't really able to like, if you will. But then the more I've connected, I've been fortunate to connect with other Black and brown yogis, I'm able to, it's like I don't even like, it's just, you're able to just really fully be yourself in these spaces. So it's really important, if you are a woman, if you're a Black or brown woman, to find people that look like you, that are doing the things that you want to do. So if you're somebody that's like, yeah, I want to be zen and all of this stuff, find somebody that looks like you that's doing it. It'll make the journey so much easier. So then T, take your time. Take your time. I wish, I wish somebody told me this. I wish somebody told me, take your time, Lesline. There really isn't any rush. There really isn't any rush. And going back to our rest in the knowing that everything is always working out for you. You'll realize that T, take your time. It's not that it's a cakewalk, but you're like, okay, I'm good. So take your time. Take your time. And for example, if you're somebody that's wanting to start your yoga practice with me, doing breath work, we're going to take our time. I'll suggest, let's just do 1 minute of meditating a day, because I know me as a busy mom myself, my time is very precious to me. So I'll be able to show you that as well. H, have fun, especially if you're a mom and you have young kids. Like, use your kids. Like, if you're like, I don't know how to have fun, Leslie, look to your kids. I promise you, look to your kids, because even this morning, before I dropped my kids off to school, my son, who is now 4, he has these Hulk gloves that he wears. and he was running outside. He was just doing a little run, and I let him do that. Let him have that fun before he has to go to school and the teachers have to tell him what to do, you know? So use your kids as a reference of like how to have fun. And you'll realize the more that you have fun with your healing journey, the more fun and the more, I don't want to say easy it'll be, but it'll be more fun. And then E is to evaluate. So before you start any type of self-work, practice, if that be yoga with me or any other person, make sure that you evaluate how you're feeling before each class, each meditation, simply by pulling up your phone and writing down one word. I'm not telling you to write a whole, chapter and verse. Just write one word. So if that one word is, shitty, or it's blah, like it don't even have to be a real word. Just write the word before you start the practice. And then after the practice, how do you feel? It's important to do this evaluation so you also can like have an assessment, if you will. And this is the nurse part of me. Assessments are really important because it helps you see your progress, right? So evaluate. And if the word is bleh before you did the meditation, the word is bleh after, that's okay. Going back to T, take your time. Like yoga is a practice. It is a practice. Not every day is going to look the same. But going back again to the last letter, E, evaluate. If you evaluate daily, like at least for like 7 days of, okay, so that day I felt bleh before and after. What was I doing that day? What stressors were going on in my life that day? Was my kid sick that day? Like, these are the things you can ask yourself, and then not attaching judgment, but then moving forward, you can be like, okay, maybe I need to move my breath work this time of day. So these are the things that I help with. Like I mentioned, I'm a certified yoga teacher. I'm also a certified life coach. And by trade, I am a registered nurse. So if you go on my website, leslinepittman.com, you can see how to work with me. And I have multiple ways, actually. The first way I always encourage people, especially if you are new to yoga or you're like, it's been a long time, is to check out my 7-day yoga challenge. And challenge is in there because, people like challenges and things like that. But it really isn't a challenge. It's actually giving you a permission slip, if you will, to rest. And each day I'll be in your inbox giving you just one pose, because I know, again, as a mom myself that has a very full life, my time is precious, and I know your time is just as precious. So you will get one pose that takes less than 5 minutes. And if you like that, then you can work with me one-on-one. If you are local to Orlando, I do pop-up yoga classes. So yeah, that is how you can work with me. And lastly, just reiterating, breathe. And now that you know what breathe means, at least my version of it, be gentle. Rest in the knowing that everything is always working out for you. Ease into your breath. Allow the feelings to come up, good or bad, allow them. Remember judgy Lesline. Remember, I let her talk. T, take your time with your yoga practice, with your healing. Healing is not linear. It is la 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 la. It's wonky. It's wonky, everybody. H, have fun. Remember my son who is with the Hulk gloves running around? Remember him. And then E, evaluate. It is important to evaluate because it also decreases your stress, because if you have a point of reference and all of that. But anyways, I thank you so much for listening to me. I thank you for allowing me, that's A, to share my story. And I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.